If you have a problem with your feet, you go to the podiatrist. If you have a problem with your eyes, you go to an optometrist. If you need heart surgery, you go to a cardiac surgeon. Nobody questions that. Nobody Googles their way through a triple bypass surgery or watches YouTube for step-by-step instructions on how to do that and hopes for the best. But for some reason, when it comes to nutrition, triathletes go literally everywhere else to every other source possible before seeing a qualified sports dietitian. And today I really want to talk about why that is, what it's costing you, and why at some point that DIY approach runs out of road. Now, before I get into the why, I want you to ask yourself honestly if you recognize yourself in any of these behaviors. Because most triathletes that I work with have done at least 3 of these things before they ever come to work with me in the Triathlon Nutrition Academy. The first one is piecing together your race nutrition plan from a free online calculator. These are usually built by a supplement company, and their primary goal is to sell you more products. So you put in a little bit of information and it spits out how many gels you need of their product, how much sports drink potentially, and any other products that they might have in their product range to build your perfect race nutrition plan using only their sports nutrition. Now, I have some major problems with that. Firstly, it has no context about you, your gut tolerance, your intolerances and preferences, any food allergies, how you're currently fueling, what you're trying to aim to achieve, how long have you got to practice. There are so many nuances that go into building a custom race nutrition plan for you for that particular event. Not to mention, generally when athletes have their race nutrition plans dialed in, it might pull from different brands and different products. So they've got a mix of supplement companies where they're getting their gels and sports drinks from. It is not typical for somebody to have only one brand and they stick with that brand for all of the things. So I really love to build race nutrition plans with my athletes that are bespoke to them, their fueling needs, but also their preferences for products. And that can come from a range of different things. So if you have been building your race nutrition plan from a free online calculator, I would suggest that that's only going to get you so far. And if you do really want to dial it in, then you're going to need to understand all of the nuances that go into your race nutrition plan to build something that is very highly specific to you and also for that event. Another one that DIY athletes do, which is highly problematic, is downloading a generic meal plan off the internet and trying to force it to fit into your life. Again, it is generic. It knows nothing about you and your context or your lifestyle, how you like to eat, how you like to do your grocery shopping, how many people in your house you're feeding, if you have any intolerances or allergies, if you have any food preferences. Again, there are so many things that go into building a unique and bespoke meal plan for you to follow each day based on your training that just something generic is never going to be able to fit. Again, it'll get you so far, but if you really want to dial things in, then you're going to need something that's going to work perfectly for you. Not something that's going to take you 6 hours to meal prep on a Sunday when you don't have 6 hours to meal prep on a Sunday because you're out going for a 6-hour ride instead. You want something that is fast, easy, and full of all the right building blocks for you as a triathlete. And that includes more than just protein, carbs, and fats. You also need to think about the beautiful micronutrients that you need in your diet and getting enough fiber to keep your gut microbes happy. It's not as simple as just going, yep, this is some random generic meal plan. I'm going to follow that for a while and see how it goes. You might get a couple of days out of it and then it's not going to work for you long term. So you've just wasted all that time and effort and maybe that excitement to start something new without really having an understanding about why it's not working and how to finesse it and change it as things happen. You know, what if you had to skip a session because you got stuck at work? What do you then do? Do you just keep following this generic meal plan, or do you actually have some knowledge and understanding about how to adapt your nutrition for the rest of the day based on not training? Or you throw an extra session in. Do you know how to adapt your nutrition to support that extra session? Do you know how to adjust when you get sick or you get injured or you go on holidays? It's not just a throw it all in, you only live once, I'll just eat whatever and then I'll get back into this meal plan when I get home. Like, let's not do that. Let's be better than that because we're high-performing triathletes. Another one is asking ChatGPT to do, well, pretty much anything with nutrition. It has a beautifully written answer. It always gives you an answer regardless of what you ask it. Whether you know if that's right or not is another question. Some of my athletes are playing around with some wearable hydration and sweat testing sensors at the moment and feeding that data back through ChatGPT and being like, hey, what's the deal? What's my hydration strategy? And the output from that, which we've all shared in our Power Hour sessions, is laughable. But these guys know exactly what they're looking for. They know what levers to pull for their hydration, their sodium, their overall hydration plan. And so they have the knowledge to critically evaluate that and go, that's not right, or that's sort of right, but you went a bit haywire there. And if you don't understand all of that goes into your hydration plan, then newsflash, ChatGPT is not going to know that either, or how to tweak it and finesse it based on you and your needs. This is a good one, and I'm pretty sure everyone has done this at some point. Googling what to eat before training, how many carbs to have per hour, how do you carbohydrate load, what is gut training, how to do it. Tell me, help me fix it. Give me the answers, Google, and I will do whatever you tell me. You will get a generic answer with zero context about you if you are Googling your nutrition strategy. This is, again, the problem with AI at the moment is it's giving you answers, but it doesn't have the critical thinking and the reasoning behind those answers to pull all of the bits and pieces that it might know about you or your sports dietitian can learn about you to provide an answer that is contextualized to you and your situation. And that is the fastest way to fail when it comes to DIY, because you'll do something and then still have no understanding around why we do the things and how to apply it to you and your situation, and then how to adjust that plan when something changes. I'm still going here. This list is ginormous, but asking your coach, your training buddy, your partner, whoever it is, all of them are very well-meaning. All of them will give you advice, but none of them are qualified to provide it. And they have probably figured out what works for them, or a lot of companies approach teams and coaches to sponsor them with particular brands of sports nutrition. And so they might be recommending the one type of sports nutrition product as the best. But whether that's right for you or not is another question. So while these people mean well and they're probably your closest knit circle, unless they've done a degree in sports nutrition, then you're probably better off investing in, again, the education from the right place rather than going to your podiatrist to get your eyes fixed, or vice versa. And finally, pulling nuggets from podcasts. Yes, even this one, although I keep all of my good nuggets for my Triathlon Nutrition Academy athletes, and trying to piece those together into something that is coherent and is going to work for you. It's going to take you so much longer if you're trying to do that. Like, yes, there'll always be nuggets from whatever you're doing and whatever you're listening to, but that is the slowest way to get to an end point than if you just got the right information from the beginning. I wanted to share a quick example with you of Sarah, who has come through the TNA program. You can go back and hear more about Sarah's story on episode 212 of the podcast if you are interested. But Sarah is a self-professed back of the packer. She was bonking in every Olympic distance race that she was doing because she was following generic advice that had nothing to do with her body, her training, her stress load, and her life. And she shared really openly about how she no longer bonks in Olympic distance events. She understands how to fuel and periodize her nutrition to training, which she's never done before. She comes from a dieting, carb-phobic background, and so she eats the same and rhythmically across the week. And she's got a really good system for that. But now she knows how to add periodization into her system so that she's eating to support her training load. And that is the difference between getting generic advice or following non-triathlon specific advice and then getting triathlon specific advice from an advanced sports dietitian. So here's the thing with DIY nutrition, and I want to be fair here. It is not stupid. It's not the worst idea ever. Some of it works, and it's going to work for a short period of time. Like, you'll get a while out of it potentially. But the problem is it has an expiry date. It doesn't have longevity. And most athletes don't really realize that they've hit that ceiling until they're standing at the start line of a race wondering why nothing's really changed, why they're not getting any faster, why they're not getting any leaner. why they're still feeling so fatigued all the time. And you get to the peak of a training block and you are so tired and you just want the damn thing to be over. That's not normal, let me tell you, and there's definitely a better way to do it. So generic advice absolutely can get you started if you're starting from grassroots, zero, rock bottom, no idea what you're doing, but it can't evolve with you. It doesn't know your genetics, your body composition, your goals, your stress levels, your lifestyle. It doesn't know any of your medical history and how to apply nutrition to get the most out of your body. It also doesn't know what you do in a day. Like there's this saying that we all have the same 24 hours in a day. Let me tell you, as a mum of 3 small children, we do not have the same 24 hours in a day. And generic advice doesn't know that about you. Generic advice can't adapt when your race distance changes. If you jump from sprint and Olympic distance and you want to dabble in long course and do your first 70.3 or do your first Ironman, it's not going to adjust and adapt for you to support that increase in training load. Generic doesn't understand when a new health issue comes up or you add an extra training session to your day or your life shifts. I have a great example of one of my TNA athletes, Kathleen, who started with a new coach and ended up doing double session training days in a day for the first time ever. Now, if you're following a generic plan, you would have no idea that that was no longer going to serve you when you were training twice a day. But because Kathleen knows how to do her pre-training nutrition, her recovery nutrition, she knows how to do her fueling based on what type of training session it is and how to periodize her food to training, she can very quickly adjust her nutrition to support that extra session in a day rather than struggling and falling into a hole and feeling like a tired triathlete with the extra volume of training. Free information on the internet is very static. You are not. You are a rapidly evolving human. You're doing things differently. You're changing your training. You're going on holidays. Maybe you're changing work structure. You're retiring. Your health is changing. Females, our hormones are changing. We are not static and set and forget. Our nutrition needs to constantly evolve. And the only way to do that is to understand all of the information that goes into what makes up nutrition that's uniquely you. And this is exactly where having structured guidance becomes a game changer. When your nutrition is built around you, your body, your training load, your goals, your life, it can evolve with you. When your race distance changes, it changes with you. When life gets messy, as it invariably will, it changes and adapts with you. And that's what working with an expert gives you that Google or AI never will. And it's exactly what the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program is designed to do. If that sounds like what you've been missing, there is a link below this to go and check out the Academy, and I'll talk a little bit more about it at the very end of this episode. So let's talk about what it costs you to keep going at it alone. And I don't just mean the financial cost. I mean also time, your performance, and the years you're going to spend or you are spending fumbling around in the dark, not knowing whether what you're doing is actually working for you or not. It will take you 50 times longer, not exaggerating, to get to the same outcome compared to investing in proper support once. You only have to do it once. It's not an ongoing forever thing. If you understand everything about triathlon nutrition, you have that education to draw on. You don't need to relearn it. You also cannot troubleshoot what you don't understand. If you have no idea what goes into your race nutrition plan and you've been handed one, how are you going to adjust it if the race is way hotter than it was predicted to be? Or you've done the bike way faster than predicted. And so what do you do with all this extra fuel that you're carrying? Do you just cram it in the end, or do you leave it? And then what do you do for the run? What do you do with your race nutrition plan if you are walking more than you thought you were and your run is blowing out? What are you going to do if you have a perfectly planned carbohydrate loading plan that somebody has given you and you can't get access to all the foods that are on it when you're traveling? If you don't understand the pieces and components that go into that, you are stuck with whatever's been provided or whatever generic advice you've pulled off the internet. You don't know what you don't know, and that is the most dangerous place to be when it comes to nutrition. The athletes that are doing the best and performing to the best and are the healthiest and have better longevity in our sport are the ones that actually have educated themselves on nutrition and properly, because it really is the fourth leg of triathlon. You need to swim, bike, and run. But to do those three things well, you also need to layer in all of your nutrition principles around that so you can adapt from training, because you only get fitter and faster. You only adapt from the training that you recover from. So if you're burning the candle at both ends and haven't got your nutrition around your training, then you're almost doing junk miles. Another cost to you is that there is no feedback loop. You have no way of knowing that what you're currently doing is actually working, or if you're just coasting along and just getting by. When you have feedback and you know what signs to look for, and you have a brain from a real human to get feedback from and analyze situations and provide guidance around the things to try to move forwards and get better, then that is the easiest way to get fitter and faster. With DIY, you don't have that progression that every triathlete I've ever met wants. Without understanding the why, you do stay stuck at that same level. And you're not getting slower, but you may not be getting any faster either. And for a high-performing triathlete, that's quite frustrating. I once had a training buddy say at the start of a ride, it was like 5 o'clock in the morning and it was dark, and he said, "I wish I could just wake up and be good at triathlon." Now, the way to do that is work on your nutrition. It is the single thing aligned with training properly that is going to make you better at triathlon. But so many of us just don't respect that. We think if I just train more, I will get better. But if you don't have your nutrition right, you're not going to get better. And it's frustrating. No amount of Googling is going to give you 2 decades of clinical experience working with thousands of triathletes. And no amount of Googling is going to give you 6 years of university level study in nutrition. When we have so many armchair experts and everyone thinks they're an expert in nutrition, unless you've done multiple years of higher tertiary level study, then how can you say that you're an expert? You might be an expert in you and your body, but that does not give you the right or the privilege to provide nutrition advice to others. In fact, in Australia, you cannot. The term dietitian is highly regulated. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist, but you cannot call yourself a dietitian without going through a whole heap of hoops to do that, and then maintaining professional insurance so that we don't F people up, as well as a whole heap of integrity things, including lots of things that we just cannot do. Whereas any person on the internet can go spreading advice, but dietitians are highly regulated and controlled, which is why you won't see us do certain things, because we're literally not allowed to. We will lose our license to be a dietitian if we do. When you actually understand your nutrition, not just follow a plan that's been given to you or you've pulled off the internet, but you actually understand what goes into it, everything changes. You stop fumbling around in the dark. You stop winging it. You stop throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping something sticks. You stop Googling things at 9 p.m. on the night before your race because you got worried about something you heard at the expo. You stop being the athlete who has tried every single gel, every supplement, every crazy diet, and you're still not sure what's working and what isn't working. You've tried keto, you've gone vegan for a bit. Maybe that was after you went paleo and had a complete switch. You've gone low carb, high fat. There's always going to be something noisy there, particularly marketed to endurance athletes. We seem to be a ready market that will just do anything that they see. But you need to understand your specific nutrition for you to push the needle forwards. And when something changes in life, you know exactly how to adapt. And that could be a different race distance. It could be a new health issue like Julia, who we heard on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I called it last year, but I thought she had some thyroid issues, and it's only now that she's been diagnosed with Hashimoto's. But because she has access to me every week in Power Hour, we are working through that and rapidly so that she is not up at 9 o'clock at night trying to Google what to do or still unsure how to eat or what are the big rocks she needs to look at to improve that for herself. If you switch coaches like Kathleen did and you suddenly end up with extra sessions or different types of training or different styles of training, you know how to adjust your nutrition to support that. You understand the principles. Not just the prescriptions, not just the outputs from ChatGPT, so that you can troubleshoot things yourself if they're not working. You know how to identify if something is working and it's not working. And your nutrition is going to evolve with you instead of being something that you just have to start from scratch every new season. And you're like, all right, I'm back on the bandwagon. I'm back on this plan. I'll do that until I do my race and then I'll switch off again. When you understand your nutrition, you become the athlete that goes into race day and toes the start line with a plan that you've built, you've tested it, and you trust it completely so that you can concentrate on going hard and your pacing and your mindset and your heart rate and your breathing and all those things that you can do to negative split the run and not blow up or have horrific GI issues because you're using a different product that you haven't trialed before. So I want to be clear about something before I wrap up, and apologies, this was a little bit ranty and sorry, not sorry, but I'm not having a go at you for DIYing it. Most triathletes do that to some extent because nobody tells them that there is a better way or shows them how to do it or that a better way even exists. It's just part of what we do. Thank God for YouTube because it shows you how to fix, change a tire if you need to know how to do that. Information is everywhere to us. And if you are watching YouTube, listening to podcasts, reading blogs, then maybe it feels like that's enough. And then hiring a sports dietitian to work with you can feel like an indulgence and a cost that you don't really want to spend on yourself rather than a necessity. But there is a faster, cleaner way to do this, one where you're not piecing together advice from 17 different sources and just hoping it all adds up and works out on race day. One where you actually understand why you're doing it, what you're doing, and how to do it specifically for you so that when something changes, and it always does, you know exactly how to adjust that plan. One where you go into every race with a plan that is built for you, tested, and you trust it completely. If you want to get faster, if you want to feel better, if you want to get leaner, if you want to stop guessing and stop wasting years on approaches that have an expiry date, then at some point you have to stop piecing it together and actually invest in getting it right. You only have to do that once. That is exactly what the Triathlon Nutrition Academy is built to do. If you go to dietitianapproved.com/academy or head to the link below, come and join us. I would love to work with you so you can get this right forever.